Joining us now, Ross Gerber, the CEO of Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management. It is good to see you, Ross. You, like the folks at CalPERS, you plan to vote no, or if you already vote, have you already cast your vote?
Yeah, I already voted no. Yeah.
Gotcha. So lay out your case for why you're not approving this pay package.
I mean, it's mostly have to do with the board of directors being so negligent in not only, not doing the compensation committee and the proxy and the way that typically compensation is done at every other public company other than Tesla is by independent committees of the board working with the CEO to come up with a comp package that is two-sided. This was not what happened at Tesla. It was just Elon presenting his comp package and them saying, sure. And, when it gets shot down by the court because of the lack of corporate governance, then the response is, well, let us now explain how we came to this. Let's vote on this again. Then we're going to go back and appeal and say, see, the shareholders still want this. And it doesn't actually address the real issue, which is that still nobody negotiated with Elon on this pay package. And it's possible he would have agreed to maybe half the size of the pay package to, let's say, 25 billion instead of 50. And, that would have still be in a massively excessive amount of compensation. So that's why I'm voting against it, because I just think this caused more problems than it solves. And I think the board should craft a real compensation package for Elon with an independent board the way that is required by law.
When you say a real compensation package, Ross, any thoughts on what that would look like to you?
Well, once again, I'm not against the basic structure of stock options and such. And, I don't think Elon needs much incentive in the sense of he owns, 80 or $90 billion worth of Tesla stock. At the time of the comp package, he owned $10 billion of Tesla stock. So he's made about, 70 to 90 billion in gains irrelevant. So, we throw around these numbers, but in the real world, the average American makes $65,000 a year. And so when you actually think about that, we're talking about a compensation package for the wealthiest person that's ever lived. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, it's literally so dumb that this is the focus of Tesla and not selling cars as we get to the end of a quarter where they're going to miss all their numbers.
Miss all their numbers here, but they did make their numbers during the period in question that we're talking about, Ross. I want to talk about...
It went from zero. I mean, you're making numbers from zero, yes.
So, this is a legitimate car maker now at a time when, you go back in time, there were a lot of people who thought that Tesla wasn't going to make it. But let me leave that aside.
But we've all benefited from that, including Elon.
Let me leave that aside for a moment, because I am curious what you think would happen if indeed the no's like you succeed here. What then is the scenario? Does Elon step back from the company, for example? Does he take his AI tech to, somewhere, to one of his other properties?
Well, there's two sides to this. One is I think he already has stepped back from the company, and that's been going on for 2 years now. And then he just eliminated every meaningful executive at Tesla over the last 6 months. So he put Tesla in a position where if we don't vote for him and he, let's say, threatens to leave the company and leaves the company, there's actually nobody at Tesla to run it. So he's done this while the board is, again, closed their eyes and been fine, as he's just let go a ton of, really talented long-term executives at Tesla for one reason or another. So, Tesla's in a really bad position, because Elon put Tesla in that position to the benefit of XAI and X and his other investments. So right now he's told us that he wants to build AI outside of Tesla. He's moving chips from Tesla to XAI. It seems like there's a disconnect between what's actually happening, which is an absent CEO who's doing what's best for AI, for him to control it, versus what's best for Tesla. And the board of directors isn't willing to step in and say, hey, this isn't what's best for Tesla. So the issue to me is, if the vote fails, how is he going to retaliate against Tesla? This is absurd for somebody who's the majority owner of the company. It's an absurd conversation. He should be doing what's best for Tesla no matter what.
Ross, besides...
So it doesn't matter what the vote does. He's got 80, 90 billion in the company.
Well, so what's besides sort of further, enabling the board, in your view, if he succeeds in this vote, what are the other downsides of him getting this vote to go his way?
Well, I kind of think the vote's about 50-50 right now. Like I would flip a coin. I don't know what it's going to do. If it does pass, the good news is we can just go back to litigating this comp package as it will be relitigated, I'm sure. And the shareholders will be responsible for $25 billion of taxes on this that, he'll have to liquidate stock to pay, and shareholders will bear that cost. So as long as shareholders are fine with, obviously when that happens, it will be a detriment to the value of the company. So it's really expensive to pay somebody $50 billion. So, that's the shareholders paying him. So, does he deserve it or not deserve it? We could debate this till we're blue in the face. I don't think anybody deserves $50 billion for running a company for 5 years, but that's just me.
Ross, can I ask you, when did you first get into Tesla?
I got into it in 2014 when it was a $2.50
So that's
stock.
a nice return under Mr. Musk there.
That's right. It's a wonderful return. And let's not forget, if it weren't for the US government loaning Tesla money, and if it weren't for investors like me and other institutional investors that stood by Elon through this period of time, Tesla would have gone bankrupt like 5 times. And in 2018 in particular, I supported Elon at the most crucial time in Tesla history. It was literally all these people on Twitter who think they're such big fans weren't nowhere to be found in 2018, except for Ross Gerber. And so, I'm out there helping Elon, helping Tesla succeed. Now, it's a small part of the overall story for sure. And Elon built a wonderful company. But as I said, he benefited the most of anybody from Tesla's success. And all of us, rest of us shareholders, rightfully benefit along with it. And that's how companies work. But that said, I think Elon deserves compensation. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be compensated. What I'm saying is they need to go out doing these things the right way. And the right way is by having a negotiation that's fair. The typical CEO makes $20 million a year, but he's not the typical CEO. So let's look at a guy like Steve Jobs when he came back to Apple. He got 7.5 million share option. The value was substantially less than anything Elon's even looked at. And, actually, Steve Jobs didn't have any stake really in Apple when he came back. So it was like they had to give him incentive. So, there's precedents for founder CEOs that are incredible innovators with option packages as well. And I think the board should work hard to come up with something fair that will compensate Elon for the past and the future and be defendable in a court of law.
Well, we'll see if that happens, Ross. Thanks a lot for joining us. Great to catch up with you as always.
Thanks for having me.